In this video, I'm going to break down literally everything you need to know about Turo. Okay, maybe not everything, but definitely important stuff, and we're going to do this rapid fire style, so keep up. But before we dive into that, I do want to remind you guys I have my course, the Car Sharing Masterclass, which teaches you everything that you need to know about starting and scaling a car sharing fleet with the exact same business model that I use. If you're interested in checking it out, you can use the code OFFER100 to get $100 off. The link is down in the description below. Okay, so let's dive right into it, and let's start off with vehicle eligibility. Now, vehicle eligibility for most cars with Turo is going to be 12 years old or newer with 130,000 miles or less. And I say most cars because there are some exceptions with classic vehicles, but we're going to disregard that for the sake of this video. It is 130,000 miles or less and 12 years old or newer. It's not 100,000 miles, it's not 10 years old. There is so much misinformation out there when it comes to vehicle requirements for Turo. I truly don't know where people get it. But that is the current requirements as of today, and there is a grandfather clause, meaning that if you list a car on Turo that qualifies, it gets to stay on the platform even whenever it technically is no longer within the age or mileage requirements, as long as that vehicle is well maintained. If this policy ever changes, I will be the first ones to let you know, but as of the recording of this video, and for the foreseeable future, I would imagine, that is vehicle requirements. Second is to read the Turo Terms of Service. I know. I say this all the time, and at this point, I am beating this like a dead horse, but this is so incredibly important, and this topic truly cannot be overstated. You should read the Turo Terms of Service to familiarize yourself with the rules and regulations that you have to follow, because the reality is, you're not going to know what you don't know, and until you read the Turo Terms of Service, you may not even know what to keep an eye out for and look for with your own vehicles and the policies that you have to follow. Once you read the Turo Terms of Service once, you'll be brought to speed much faster. You'll have a really good idea of what you need to do as a Turo host, and from that point moving forward, if you do have a question about Turo and you're not exactly sure what to do, you can simply Google whatever policy you need to look into. For example, Googling Turo Reimbursements, Turo Terms of Service. The Turo Terms of Service has every single rule and regulation that you have to follow, from reimbursements to damage claims, guest communications, expectations for the host and the guest, as well as everything in between. If you do not read this, you are leaving yourself open to liability, and it really doesn't take that long to go through. I highly encourage you to do it. So read it, no exceptions. For Turo reimbursements, you have 3 days to request for things like smoking, cleaning, gas mileage. You have 24 hours to report a late return, but you can do it sooner. And for things like tolls and tickets, you have to request them within 90 days, but you can oftentimes get these tolls and tickets reimbursements approved even after 90 days. You'll just have to contact Turo directly and get them to manually approve it. So the process does take a bit longer. When it comes to requesting for things like tolls, tickets, gas, you'll not only need proof that the charge was charged to you, but the fact you paid it and the fact that it was a legitimate charge. For example, in the case of a gas fee, you'll want to make sure that you have a picture before the trip started of the gas gauge being full, a picture after the trip showing that it wasn't full, and the receipt showing that you filled up the car within 24 hours and you paid for it and how much it cost. You have to take a photo of the actual receipt. Taking a photo of the gas pump will not work. And when it comes to things like tolls and tickets, you'll want to include a breakdown of what the tolls and tickets were, how much they cost, and that you paid it. The proof of payment is in most cases required, and if you don't have this, Turo customer support will push back. So it's better to just get that paid, include that invoice and that proof of payment, and you'll get that improved in no time. Always take photos 24 hours before and after a trip starts. And yes, you have to do this every single 24 hours. Even if you take photos and then within the next 24 hours the car hasn't moved, you will still need fresh photos. When filing a damage claim and working it out with Turo, if you get directed to Snapsheet, Turo does not think your car is totaled. But if you're directed to IAA, Turo does think your car is totaled. If your car is deemed a total loss, you'll get paid out ACV, or actual cash value, for your car. The payout for your Turo claims can frequently be calculated by what is the KBB value of that car in excellent condition, plus 8 to 10%, and then adjust for your deductible. That formula, more often than not, at least in my experience, results in a payout pretty dang close to what you're going to be paid out by Turo. Of course, different factors can come into play here. If your car had pre-existing damage, Turo will deduct that, your deductible, as well as if you have a car payment, that of course will affect how much you get in your pocket from a damage claim as well. Now, why understanding what Turo bases your payment in the case of a total loss on is so incredibly important is because Turo pays you off of ACV. Not off of how much you owe on the car, not off of how much you paid for it, not how much you think it's worth. They don't care about any of these factors. They care about what the actual cash value is, and more often than not, in fact, probably 99% of the time, That ACV is pulled from a database, and it's not something that you can add an additional context into. For example, if you just replace the AC or just replace the floor mats or the tires, Turo doesn't care about that because it's not really going to affect the ACV in most cases. And this is important for you to understand because whenever you're looking to buy a car for the sake of renting it out on Turo, you should understand how ACV plays its role in that car compared to how much you pay for the car, how much you're going to owe, and the long-term depreciation of that vehicle as well. That way you can plan for it and have a decent idea of what you can expect if the car gets totaled or if you end up needing to sell that car. I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me over the years telling me, hey, I bought this car a couple of years ago, it was totaled, I was paid out by Turo, but they only paid me out $15,000 when I still owe $25,000. It happens all the time, and this can be prevented by simply understanding how Turo pays out for claims, ACV, and how this relates to how much you paid or you still owe on a vehicle. Remember, a Turo deal is made or lost at the point of purchase. Next is to charge for everything. I know of and have met so many hosts who let a $5 gas charge slide or don't check for tolls because it's just a few bucks. And this is a big mistake, especially if you're a host that's wanting to scale. I personally take the approach of charging for everything. If the guest fills up the gas tank but doesn't fill it up all the way and it's one notch short and filling up that notch costs me $3, I'm still going to charge. And there are a few reasons for this. First, and probably the most important, is that I give all of my cars to my guests completely full. I do this for a few reasons. One is I think it creates a better guest experience, but two, it makes proving that they didn't fill up the tank later on significantly easier. If I have a guest who doesn't fill my car up, even if it's just a couple of gallons or a gallon, that ultimately is going to end up impacting my next guest, which then could impact my business because it impacts that guest experience. The second reason is that $3 can actually add up to be quite a lot. And depending on what type of cars you're renting out on Turo, especially in the case of my cheaper vehicles, $3 can in some case be 5, 10, 15% of the amount of money that I am making off of that rental. And that adds up. But third, and I think one that a lot of hosts don't take into account, is the time of going to go fill up the car as well. It takes time to get a car, take it to the gas station, fill it up, and then return it to the lot. And time is money. There is a lot of energy spent from newer hosts especially, deciding should you charge or should you not charge. And I have found that the blanket policy of if there's a fee left, I'm charging it. And I have found that things work a lot better and it just takes a lot less energy if I have the blanket statement of if there is a valid fee to be charged, I'm going to charge it, regardless of how petty it might feel on the surface. These small fees add up, and whether you're talking about a $3 gas charge or a 75-cent toll charge, you should be requesting reimbursement. I would say with gas, if anything, you could potentially take off that $10 fee if it's a good renter, and you can do this by simply contacting Turo support, but I would not cover the cost of gas for them. Next is never do a gray market transaction. Gray market transactions are whenever you accept funds outside of Turo. So for example, if a guest was to extend, but rather than extending properly through the app and paying Turo and then having Turo pay you, a gray market transaction would be doing this directly with the guest and then accepting money from the guest directly, simply cutting Turo out of the equation totally. Now, gray market transactions can happen in many forms. They can happen in the form of an extension, asking a guest to book directly with you rather than booking the app, somebody Venmoing you for a gas charge. It can come in a variety of shapes and forms. And the thing is, while some gray market transactions are very ill-intended and the host knows what they're doing, there are some scenarios where a gray market transaction may be very innocent and you may be thinking that what you're doing isn't a big deal. My philosophy whenever it comes to gray market transactions and accepting money directly from the guest is to just never do it. You should always have Turo be that middleman, and at the very least, you should be communicating with Turo anytime money is changing hands. That way you can keep yourself protected. But truthfully, there really isn't a scenario where you should be accepting money directly from the guest, and it should always be funneled through Turo directly. And never do something shady like a gray market transaction, because nothing's going to get you kicked off of Turo quicker than that. People are going to hate to hear this next one, but it's the truth. If you hear about somebody getting banned from Turo or somebody having a really poor experience where they feel like they've been screwed by Turo, chances are they did something wrong. If you've spent any amount of time searching online about Turo, Turo host experience, Turo host horror stories, you have no doubt seen a plethora of stories of people getting screwed by Turo. And in my experience of looking into these stories, I would say probably 95% of the time, these people did something wrong, even if it was unintentional. Maybe they violated the terms of service, maybe they didn't take photos in time or didn't take the right photos. Maybe they didn't request something in time. There could be 100 different reasons as to why somebody violated the terms of service, even if that violation was unintentional. But just because something's unintentional doesn't make it not valid. The point is, these Turo horror stories, more than likely there is more to the story, because in my 8 years of being a host, I haven't really met anybody who's been screwed by Turo without doing something on their end. I would say the exception here is smoking fees, which Turo has gotten out of hand with, and there are tons of valid smoking fees that get denied. But that's a topic for another video. When it comes to bookings, if your car isn't getting booked out, I can almost guarantee you that it comes down to one of 3 factors, if not all 3. 1, your price is too high. 2, your availability sucks. Or 3, your listing and your listing photos are just bad. If you aren't getting bookings, try to adjust those 3 things, and I can almost guarantee you that you'll see an improvement. There is no such thing as too many photos on Turo. I know that Turo requires or encourages you to take 6+ photos for your vehicle check-in, but you should be taking a minimum 100. There is no such thing as taking too many, and the reality is taking photos of your car really doesn't take that much time, and it will definitely protect you in the long run, and you'll be happy that you did it. Track your finances through a software like QuickBooks, or just a spreadsheet, it doesn't really matter. And track your car profit as well. You want to be able to see how your individual vehicles are performing. How much are these cars costing you? How much are they bringing in? And how much profit are they making at the end of the day after all expenses have been paid? Trackers are absolutely essential to a scaling Turo fleet. I use One-Step GPS, but Bouncy's really good too. Maintenance tracking is essential, and truthfully, we are still perfecting this process. Don't take out too much debt, and I know that that's a siren that I've been blowing basically my entire YouTube career, but be very careful and strategic with the debt that you take out in order to grow a Turo fleet, because this is something that I think can become very dangerous very quickly. But there you guys have it, my tips and tricks and everything that I think you need to know about Turo in order to get started on the Turo platform. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.